Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me on this video. I am so excited to have this conversation with you. Today I wanted to give some insight on the topic of trends and also just how that impacts us in terms of our mental health, in terms of how we feel with like what we're doing with our lives, and how we can kind of like work on that, because this is a topic that I've been thinking about for such a long time. And I feel like it's a lot deeper than we realize sometimes. So yeah, we're just gonna get right into it. I of course am such an observant person. Being the INFJ that I am, being a neurodivergent girly, I have always been very like aware of patterns, and that is one thing I'm very grateful for. My amazing pattern recognition that sometimes makes me feel like I'm some mystical being that knows things before they're even about to happen. I've been observing the pattern of human behavior and trends when it comes to social media, but also just in the general wider sense. When I was young, it was really easy for me to feel as if I needed to chase a lot of trends, and it was so easy for me to feel like I needed to fit a particular mold, whether that was in the way that I dressed, in the way that I did my hair, in the way that I spoke, and the interests that I had. And I think when you are a neurodivergent woman who has been masking and camouflaging for their entire lives, you very quickly come to terms with the reality of social expectations and social norms and how they're set and how they come about, how trends are created, because you often feel like you can't keep up. I've always felt like I couldn't keep up. Growing up, I would try so hard to look like everyone around me and to be like everyone around me, and I just couldn't. Like, I really struggled. Of course, there are interests that I have that are very like stereotypical of me as a woman, me as a black woman, etc. But I couldn't hide the fact, and I couldn't divert away from the fact that there were certain interests or certain ways of having certain interests that I was very, very drawn to because I'm neurodivergent. Like, I would be obsessive about like beauty, for example. It became a special interest for me. I would hyperfixate on something. I would spend so much money on a brand new interest and completely drop it. I would pick up all these new things so quickly and then start a new thing the next day, type of thing. But whenever I found myself doing things, not necessarily because I wanted to do them, but because I wanted to fit into the society that I lived in, that was when I felt the most restricted. There was something about my existence and my being that felt unsettled. I didn't feel like I was being myself. I didn't feel like I could do things in the way that I wanted to do them. Like, yeah, if I wanted to have a beauty interest, I wanted to go all out. I wanted to know every single thing about it. I wanted to know the facts. I wanted to know who invented things, etc. Point is, I was an obsessive person. I am an obsessive person when it comes to my interest. So when it comes to trends, if I was gonna follow a trend, I was ride or die. Like, I was submerged into it until I lost interest, or until I felt like it was harming me too much, or like I was not being my authentic self, then I would stop. And the thing with this is, I would see that like the people around me, everybody was I would talk about identity over and over again, like a million times. Everybody was trying to build an identity just like me. Of course, my experience was a little different to the average person, but I could see, especially because we were young and were growing up, I could see that people were trying to find themselves. So they were opting for different aesthetics or different, ways of presenting themselves. The unfortunate thing was that a lot of people, while they were finding their style, finding, their personality, who they want to be, you could really see that for a lot of people, they did just simply feel like they needed to follow the crowd, and that the only way they could find their personality was by finding what's popular. And you see that in people that are adults now. You can see people have a like deep desperation to find who they really are, what they really want to do, their style, etc. but they always feel like they need to go to the trends to find that. Not necessarily going to people to find inspiration, because that's completely fine. Like, it's a beautiful thing for us to be inspired by each other and to learn from each other. Finding inspiration is amazing, but when we constantly follow trends, we'll realize that when those trends are over, we have this feeling in our inner self where we just kind of feel lost, and then we're finding the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and at the end of it you realize that you've accumulated all these interests and all these oftentimes um things that you've bought, you know. We spend so much money curating an image that we've been sold from the trends that we're watching, from the people that we look up to, um and it's quite disheartening. And the thing is, when people go to trends and to things that are constantly changing to try and find themselves, yes, it can be fun to try new things, but if you're if you're engaging in these trends with the hope of finding yourself and finding your identity, but not in an exploratory way, because you can use trends to like explore different things that you like. But if you're doing it because you feel pressured by those trends, that's when you end up feeling like you don't fully know yourself. Because we've seen how many times trends die, trends come and go. We have the clean girl aesthetic, we have the cherry red, like we have all these trends, and they can be so fun to engage in. But then we also have to deep the fact that a lot of these trends, they are part of capitalism. These trends that we keep seeing over and over again, a lot of them is just to keep selling you an image, and it's linked to certain trending, whether it's services or products for you to buy. It's not, you know, people helping you to like discover yourself, of which I'm guessing that's not their goal anyway. But for example, clean girl aesthetic, it was linked to Pilates. For example, Pilates is crazy expensive. Before that, when there was like kind of like the baddie aesthetic, it got linked to like expensive holidays, spending a lot of money on your body, all this and that. Like, all these trends, it's not charity work. The people who come up with these trends, they're not doing us a favor. They're not trying to do some sort of charity work and help us to like find ourselves. It's to market a brand new thing to you every single time. And that is really unfortunate. And that's why you have to take what you like from trends, but you have to realize that you can't make that your entire personality. And I think especially the people that are the most vulnerable to this are younger people, because they're on social media and they're seeing, you know, their favorite influencers now this aesthetic, and now they need to be like that. Like, oh my gosh, when I go outside and I see, oh my gosh, when I go outside, I will literally see like young children, like in their early teens, following some of these trends. And I just think, first of all, where is this money coming from? And I say this not out of judgment of literal children, but I say this in a sense of like, it's so obvious how much of a stronghold that trends have on our society. Like, there is no way that a 12-year-old should be stressing about getting a Stanley Cup. Like, let's be so for real. Kids feel even more pressure than we did when we were younger to follow trends. And I think also when it comes to like name branded things, we really see that like super prevalent, where if they don't have the name branded things, they feel like they're not gonna be accepted, type of thing. Unfortunately, my storage is ridiculously low and the video keeps cutting out, so I'm gonna have to make this so short. But the point that I just wanted to get across is essentially trends should be something that we can nip into, we can, you know, engage in like a fun way, but they shouldn't be something that we allow to kind of define our identity. They will keep changing, okay? At some point you're gonna look at some of the trends you've done and roll your eyes, or not be able to believe that you spent so much money or so much time trying to follow that trend. no matter your age, you have to spend time doing some introspection, doing some kind of inner work to find out, what do I want, what do I like, what do I want to do, who am I as a person, who do I want to be, who do I want to be surrounded by, what are my hobbies, etc. And yes, you can find inspiration, of course, on the internet and books. That's the other thing, like, inspiration shouldn't just come from the internet. There's so much inspiration in other places. When you go out, look at the kind of style that's around. What do you like, what don't you like? See what works on yourself. When you see different hobbies, try them out. You know, read books, find other forms of inspiration, because obsessing over internet trends will honestly just exhaust you, and it will make you feel really restricted. And yeah, I just encourage you to try and like find your own kind of style and what you like and what you're into as a person. Like, you don't need to fit into a particular mold. Coming from someone who's always felt like I have to, trust me, you will just end up feeling exhausted, and you don't want to come to the end of your life and regret that you didn't explore more into the person that you want to be, because you're always chasing trends, always chasing what's on the internet. It sometimes is easier said than done, especially if you're quite insecure, or you know, you've got some sort of self-esteem issues. You feel like you have to be in a certain mold to fit in, but you don't have to. I promise you. You find what works for you. If people look at you funny, if people treat you funny, that's a reflection of them as people. As long as you're comfortable and happy and not hurting anyone, you just need to do you, essentially. I'm so sad that I have to cut this so short, because I really, really want to put more and more content on this channel, but I need to get my storage issue resolved, and it's so cloudy lately and it's making filming videos really hard. But I hope you really enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. But yeah, there's going to be more content, more changes on the channel, and just lots of things to look forward to. And if you're watching, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you, and I wish you all the best in whatever you're doing, and I hope you're taking really good care of yourself. So yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.